You're listening to Free Zone Radio. A family sits together for one day and spends the entire time trying not to say what everyone already knows. For Free Zone Radio, I'm Jason Crockett, and this is Second Stage. It's a 4-act play that takes place almost entirely in one room over the course of a single day with one family that cannot stop hurting one another and cannot stop loving one another either. Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night follows the Tyrone family from morning to midnight as old resentments resurface, as secrets refuse to stay buried, and the past keeps pressing in on their present. There's no external crisis. There is no dramatic turning point that fixes anything for them. Instead, the play moves in slow, painful circles. A casual comment becomes an accusation, and an accusation turns into a confession. A confession becomes a weapon. And everyone knows the family history. Everyone knows that this day will probably end. And still, they keep talking. The journey isn't about where they go. It's about what happens when their denial wears thin. Playwright Eugene O'Neill doesn't offer redemption here. He offers recognition, the kind of recognition that makes you uncomfortable because it really feels too familiar. The way families repeat themselves, the way love and blame get tangled, the way people hurt each other, but not out of cruelty, out of fear. And as we head into the holiday season, where everybody is getting ready to spend a day or more with their families, I can't unpack a family this complicated without one of my coworkers who has a great eye for the long conversations and these uncomfortable truths.
Hi, I'm Toby Swift. I've been a teacher at White County High School since 2012, teaching all things ELA. Something interesting about myself is that I just thought I was always weird, and recently I realized that I have 2 alleles of the MTHFR gene mutation, and so I'm currently starting my memoir about how that's affected my life and perspective. I think you picked this play because it's relatable to me. However, I think you know me well enough to know I did not handle things the same way as Eugene O'Neill, thank God. And because of maybe my feminist perspective and how it would be different from his 1950s male perspective, but also because of the family dynamics and the psychological undertones.
So today, we're sitting down with the Tyrones and talking about not necessarily our family stories, but what this play asks us to face when the lights stay on, the day's coming to an end, and the masks are finally coming off.
I tripped upon a fun fact about Eugene O'Neill in the recording of a previous episode with Hannah, because we were doing the play Trifles. Okay. Do you know that one? Mm-hmm. And Susan Glaspell apparently was like the one who introduced Eugene O'Neill to the world of theater. Like she opened the door to theater for him in the early 1900s. So she's kind of the reason why we have Eugene O'Neill as an American playwright. And in the world of theater, he's a big-time name. Mm-hmm. But I think in a lot of high school ELA classrooms, not at all represented, right? Mm-hmm. Like, had you ever heard of him before I asked you to do this?
No, I had not.
So he's like not on the radar for high school ELA. He's on the radar sometimes, I think, for AP Lit, but probably not as much as he should be. And also community theater, I don't know that I see it performed all that often. So why do you think such a big time name to American theater is pretty much non-existent in today's meta?
I can't think of many plays that have such cynical themes. And I think this book was hard for me to read, and I imagine that it would be hard to watch, although the movie that I watched, which was the Katharine Hepburn version.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're going to talk about that.
I think it was much more palatable than reading the words, just because on screen, you can channel things differently. When you read the words, it causes you to become more introspective, and I think it can be difficult. And I don't necessarily know that we need Eugene O'Neill right now in the classroom.
Really?
I think it would be fun to teach, but I think it depends on the lens in which you teach it.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that be true with everything, though? Like, I would trust a play like this in your hands. Mm-hmm. I would trust a play like this in my hands. Mm-hmm. But there's probably teachers out there I wouldn't trust a play like this.
Exactly. Or scripted curriculum. I wouldn't. Oh, I definitely wouldn't trust
golly,
that.
No.
It doesn't have the humanness. It doesn't have the ability to look at it from a political perspective, a psychological perspective, a gender perspective. The ways that I would look at it wouldn't be, let's worship Eugene O'Neill, he's such a great playwright. It would be, let's observe his motivations, the time period, what we know now versus what we knew then.
Yeah, sure. Eugene O'Neill is widely regarded as a playwright who brought American drama into like the modern serious phase here. Like we're talking about here, his writing in the early 20th century, and that he rejected melodrama. Melodrama is always something that I kind of lead off with in AP Lit, because you think of it being so easily digestible, that it's such a formulaic, it's like a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Right.
It's a formula. We know what works. You can put it on. Audiences are going to buy it up, move on. But like a bag of potato chips, I don't know that it's that nourishing to the mind.
It's not plot driven.
You've got your archetypal young hero. Mm-hmm. You've got your damsel in distress. You've got the mean, evil villain who's like, I'm going to take the orphanage. And like, okay, it resolves itself, and then we move on. Mm-hmm. But Eugene O'Neill is one of the ones who wants to kick in the doors on that and say, let's get away from melodrama. And he brings in the psychologically intense work here. He's going to have themes of family, addiction, illness, guilt, search for meaning, all the things that are so easily accessible in a regular high school English classroom. Right? I mean, those are the easy topics to we all want to talk about that, right? But his play, Long Day's Journey into Night, tends to be an autobiographical snapshot of his life.
Right.
And I was going to let you have so much background here. I am so impressed. You are a way better guest than I am. You are way better at this than I am. I was going to let you talk about some of the background. The only thing I really knew about it beforehand was that he had this done, but was so, I don't want to say ashamed of it, but he was uncertain about it, that he forbid it being performed in his lifetime. Like theaters had to wait until after he was dead and in his grave before he was okay with people performing it. What would you want to say about it?
I think I would appreciate the book more had I not researched Eugene O'Neill's life.
Oh, yeah.
Because I put myself in his shoes, in Edmund's shoes, and I think about my brother's doing this, my parents have done this, what have I done to get out of it? What did he do to get out of it? Not a whole lot. Screwed up 2 marriages, abandoned his children, flipped on his 3rd marriage, and became controlled. So none of the things that I think, I want in a person.
Right.
But again, we can separate the art from the artist, or in this case, the work from the author.
Yeah.
To psychoanalyze a little bit, okay?
Do it.
Do you know the reason that Eugene O'Neill's mother became an addict?
Okay, so you've got to correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I was pretty sure that it was heavily patterned off of the same thing that Mary Tyrone in the play experienced, that she was given morphine after delivering a child.
Correct.
And it quickly hooked her into an addiction, right?
Right. So it was Eugene O'Neill's birth that put his mother kind of in that position. And so I think about, what would a psychiatrist say to that? Well, we look at the father and brother. They have a common thread of they're both alcoholics, so they're kind of tied. So he's tied to his mother through this trauma that's implicit to him as a baby, not knowing that he's done that to his mother. But it's very explicit in her life as she continues this pattern of addiction. And it's like, hey, does she resent him? Is that how he develops this negative view of women, just like so many other of our male authors? Like we have all of these men authors that we're teaching, And it's like they have negative views of women because of their mothers, because of their relationships or whatever. Do we need more of that in the classroom?
I don't know, do we?
And I think it goes back to, depends on how we're looking at it. Are we celebrating them like Dr. Eisen?
Well, and I would be cautious. I don't think Dr. Eisen ever put him up on
A pedestal?
I don't know that Dr. Eisen ever put him up on like a golden pedestal or anything. I do wish I had talked more to him about this, of like, why did you choose to specialize in Eugene O'Neill? Like, why was that I feel like a lot of literature professors find like, what's their thing, you know? And Dr. Shirley Laird, it was Old English, Middle English, Geoffrey Chaucer. You have, like Dr. Josie McQuail in William Blake. You have like different professors who, what's their thing? And his was Eugene O'Neill. But I don't know that he was like, ooh, this is the kind of guy we should be like. I think maybe it is worth exploring that sometimes we have these iconic writers who have made impacts, but not because they themselves were, I don't know, perfect human beings. I think it absolutely is worth, hey, let's look at this guy who made a lot of mistakes in his life, who was haunted by, what a terrible thing to be haunted by. Did I cause my mother's addiction? And like, how do you live with that? How do you ever have a conversation with your mother? How do you not hear the implication in comments if you two are ever having an argument, right? And you may be listening for things that were or were not there in that argument. Like, how do you grow up in an environment like that and not like think about that?
I think part of the answer is he doesn't. And I know I've seen that with family members of mine. They didn't mature past like age 14. So when I look at my own 14-year-old and I'm like, hey, you're being like this part of the family. No, it's that part of the family's being like they're 14. So it's not some sort of like inherited issue or whatever. It's more of an issue of maturity and transcending.
Imagine you had to explain this play to your 14-year-old.
Okay.
How would you explain the plot of it? Give me a summary.
Okay, it happens in one day. So it's literally kind of like this family discussion that all goes down in a 24-hour period. And there's no ends to a means, if that's the way to say it, I think. It's cyclical. It's just a cycle of blame and kind of disgust and deflecting and dissociating. It's really like what you shouldn't do to form healthy boundaries and resolve conflict in a troubled family. So I think that's one reason that it's very frustrating to me, is it goes against everything that I've been taught, everything that I have tried to resist in life, and just to relive some of these conversations. And, well, it's not you, it's me. No, it's not me, it's our heritage. Well, you know, this is what mom and dad did, so now I've got to act this way. And there's really a lack of ownership. And from kind of my own personal life and from a feminist perspective, it's hard for me to respect his lack of ability to pull himself out of disillusionment.
Okay, now I'm going to be Cager.
Okay.
Okay, Mom, but like, who are the characters?
Okay, so you've got mom and dad, okay, James and Mary. James is an alcoholic. Mary is addicted to morphine. Okay, you've got two sons, Edmund and Jamie. Imagine Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Jamie, okay? He's the brother that's kind of destructive. He's all over the place. He's your uncle's. And then you've got Edmund, who's, he's been sick. You know, he pulls the sympathy. That's not me, I don't think. If it is, you better tell me. And so Edmund's the main character, basically. He's trying to come to terms with the parent situation that's jacked up, and he and his brother are constantly at odds of whose fault is it, and why are you acting this way? And then you've got the mom who basically acknowledges I'm responsible for all of this, but I can't say I'm sorry for it. And that was one of the lines in this play that really got me. And I think if it's done live, it could really be an impact on the audience.
That's perfect. There were so many notable actors that I was trying to pull out from like previous performances. Like, who would people know that have performed in Long Day's Journey into Night? And one of the top names was Katharine Hepburn. So you watched the 62 Katharine Hepburn black and white version.
Yes.
And that had Ralph Richards as the husband, James Tyrone. And I don't know who performed Jamie Tyrone in that one, but Edmund, the sickly son who's dying, maybe, of consumption, was played by Dean Stockwell, a very young Dean Stockwell, who I remember in the 80s from being in the TV show Quantum Leap. Do you remember that TV show?
I do not.
Oh, we're different generations. That's what I remember him from being in. He was Al, who was the Dr. Beckett's like mentor, who would always jump in and say, Al or Sam, you got to get over here and do this. So he performed Edmund. But you also have other people. You brought up Philip Seymour Hoffman doing a 2003 version of Jamie Tyrone. I think that's a perfect call. Vanessa Redgrave played Mary Tyrone in that version. If you ever want to watch a good version of it, I would encourage you to go back to YouTube sometime and watch one of the first ones that comes up. It's got Alfred Molina as James Tyrone. It's got Jane Kaczmarek as Mary Tyrone. Have you ever seen the TV show Malcolm in the Middle? That's the mom from Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh,
she plays Mary Tyrone. And then it's got a couple other guys who played the two sons. She is perfect. And I tried looking up any other film credits she's got, and I think she's largely a TV actress. She is perfect as Mary Tyrone, because as soon as she comes on stage, you can tell by the way that she's kind of fidgeting and she's toying with her hair, and you can see the look on her face, like she's ready to erupt into emotion at any second. And you feel the anxiety. You're like, oh, is mom going to yell? Is mom going to cry? Like, what's going on? Everybody does such a great job in that play, but I think she's stellar in it. You watched the Hepburn version. What did you think?
I thought she was much too palatable.
Really? Tell why.
Well, maybe it's just the, pulling the pretty celebrity card in the 50s kind of thing. But I kind of want, the enabling mom to be a little bit more of a mess at home. Maybe she can look like that in front of everybody because it's part of the facade. But Katharine Hepburn, she's a queen. Like, she's very put together kind of throughout the whole thing. Yeah. So I thought it was kind of monotonous, but I think that was kind of typical of film in the 50s.
I could see that. There is a tired cliche about being a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. But you know what? I feel like Mary Tyrone is that cat in the room full of rocking chairs where at any second something's going to set you off. I just wondered how Hepburn would play that. Would she look or feel like she's about to come undone?
I don't think so. And I think she has that in common with Parker Posey's character from the White Lotus Season 3 series, because you're waiting for it to happen. We're all waiting for it to happen, but it doesn't because it's suppressed. And so I think that's true to Mary Tyrone's character and her lack of accountability. I think it goes along with Eugene O'Neill's mother, and he projects that into his own relationships. Yeah. His first marriage, he has a son, and then he's out. His second marriage has 2 kids, has an open relationship with his third wife, Carlotta Monterey. He's with her until death, but the 3 relationships are totally different. The first 2, he is very dominant. He's controlling. He wants to do what he wants and kind of use them up and then move on to his next thing in his career, and he abandons his children. So he's not a good dad. He's not a good husband. In his third marriage, Carlotta becomes the one that's in charge. She controls his stardom from his success with his plays. She takes care of him as he's beginning to age and become ill. And so she holds the keys, and it's very much like he went from one extreme to the other, and he never finds balance. And I think we see that with his mommy issues, with his own mother, and we see that in Mary Tyrone. Is like he probably grew up with bated breath, walking on eggshells. Don't upset the parent. You have to succumb to everyone else's emotions, and so he repeated the cycle, and that goes back to something I just can't admire him for. But something that's a fun fact is that his daughter Una.
Yes, Una.
She was married to Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what drove them apart. Was, and I don't know why. That's why I asked, did you know, other than Charlie Chaplin being part of the Hollywood 10 during the Red Scare with like Senator Joseph McCarthy, like what were his other ties? Was he ever implicated? Because Eugene O'Neill has ties to the Communist Labor Party. Let's see, Communist Labor Party of America, the CLPA.
Everybody gasp.
I'm taking it there. So I think this is a good place to pull in political perspectives like I do with Lord of the Flies or with The Crucible, and have the kids do some historical research. Because why did he abandon his daughter because she was married to Charlie Chaplin when he himself had an affair with John Reed's wife? Also, in the movie Reds in 1981, Jack Nicholson played Eugene O'Neill himself.
Yeah.
And Diane Keaton played Louise Bryant, who was married to John Reed. So it's like kind of this tangled web, very similar to like what we see with Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys and Arthur Miller.
I literally have that written here on my first page of notes when I started rewatching this. So is every modern American play just an echo of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman? That's probably a huge overstatement, but I can't help but see these echoes. And you've got Death of a Salesman in 1949, Long Day's Journey into Night. You would have to correct me, but I think it was published in 56. And then Fences was another one that Drew and I have talked about, which seems like the Black American response to Death of a Salesman. That was 1985. And so it's like, oh, did Arthur Miller really just stumble upon like the trigger that we've been reenacting over and over and over?
It's the American dream.
It feels so much like that. But I also have written just above it in all caps, the lies we tell ourselves. Because everybody in that first scene, it's a 4-act play,
right?
And everybody in the first scene of the first act is just rushing to cover. Oh, she looks so good. She looks so good. You put some pounds on you. You look so good. You look so good. And I always tell like my students and my student teachers, if there's ever somebody in your group, at your job, in your wherever, who's like, well, I'm the boss. Well, I'm the boss. Well, I'm the boss. If you have to repeat it, is it really true? And everybody in this scene is rushing to cover. Oh, doesn't she look good? Doesn't she look good? You're so much better. You're so much better. Which has to tell me it's the complete opposite. That's not really true.
This part reminded me so much of my upbringing in the Southern gospel community because it's very much like, it doesn't matter what happened on Saturday night. You're going to put on your Sunday best and you're going to go out there and you're going to look like we've got it together. And that's what I really feel like the Tyrones are doing.
Oh, yeah. You can read the tension between them. And there are times when the conversation, it seems to be like an episode about nothing. I wrote on here, this is like Seinfeld, except dysfunctional family day.
Exactly.
It's an episode about nothing. They're just at their summer home one day having a conversation. Oh, I barely got any sleep last night. The foghorn. Oh, you look so good. You look so good. Oh, quit drinking. You don't know the value of $1. But then somebody will say something that's just enough to irritate somebody that they almost snap. And then the conversation comes to an awkward halt. And then they start to cover again, Oh, yeah. And it's like, wow, you people are about to be at each other's throats.
And they do a lot of that through sarcasm and humor.
Yes.
Which I think is a defense mechanism that we're all familiar with, but especially families in these situations use that to poke at each other in like a bitter way. And so that was another thing that made this kind of uncomfortable. I read this in 3 sittings. So, like you said, it was
it
easy.
Morning, noon, and night?
Oh, no. 3/4 blocks. But I think that it was very much like, this is how family conversations go when they get to that level of kind of being detrimental. It's just going to keep going in a circle.
Yeah.
There's not going to be much logic. At some points, it's going to become emotionally numb. There definitely aren't going to be ethics involved. So I think you could even do rhetorical analysis with this dialogue.
Yeah. I watched The West Wing like on repeat all the time. And from season 2, episode 11.
Hold on. You watched The West Wing?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I know.
Oh, my God. This is one of those things we can never talk about now. But from season 2, episode 11, The Leadership Breakfast, one of the characters, a guy named Toby, is talking about how he and his ex-wife could never get along. And he says it's because of things like this. He's like, we had these rules. We could talk about anything except why we couldn't live with each other. And his boss across the table says that, my ex-wife, Jenny, and I, we had those rules too. And you know why, Toby? Because we loved each other and it was awful and we knew it was never going to change ever. And I thought, whoa, like watching this last night, I was thinking, that's that quote right there. Mm-hmm. They can talk about everything except this. Because if we talk about it, it's never going to change and everything, like we don't want to face that accountability.
Well, isn't that very East Egg of them?
Ooh, a little bit.
Daisy and Tom.
They were all terrified that Mary was going to go upstairs. And I think in Act 1, maybe you don't know everything that's going on. You're picking up on the details as they gradually unfold. But they're definitely covering that mom is better. She's better, except she's not. And every now and then she distractedly says something like, oh, I might go upstairs and lie down. I'm so tired. And they get real panicky when she starts to go upstairs alone. Mm-hmm. Why does she want to go upstairs alone?
So I think that this is also like a picture of a few things. Number one, the distrust that happens in a family whenever there's an addict involved. And so you get a hypervigilance.
Exactly.
And we see that in other characters. And so it's almost, to me, it's a sense of paranoia, much like we get when we read Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
Yes.
That's kind of the feeling that I had reading this, but I already know how it's going to end up because I've kind of lived it to an extent. So it's like they don't want her to go, but I don't care if she goes or not because I know what's going to happen. And so the sense of paranoia that grows and the other characters become very invested in it, we see almost like she's using this as a manipulation tactic.
Ooh. I would be scared to watch a version of Mary do that, which I don't think you're wrong at all. I think that there's definitely a way to perform that. The one I watched, I don't know that she meant to be manipulative, but it is
Well, she doesn't mean to. I mean,
but
mothers don't mean to enable either.
But there are plenty of times that Mary Tyrone in this performance, and I'm sure every other because it's in the text, that she is manipulative of their feelings. Every time she says, I want to go upstairs and lie down, I have to imagine that if I'm her kid or her husband, that's not what I hear her say. Mm-hmm. Like I hear her say something probably like, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to use my morphine where you can't watch me. Mm-hmm. But you said downstairs in the living room here, this one stage, one scene, everything's so hyper vigilant. Mm-hmm. This is surveillance where we can watch you. And we all know you're an addict. We don't want to say it out loud, but we know what the game is. And if you start to go out of the room, we stop being friendly, but we're not going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so we're just going to live on eggshells. We're going to live on the edge of this anxiety forever and ever and ever. But you can't go upstairs and be alone, but you can't be here and be happy either. It's a horrible, horrible situation. I think they each probably retreat into their own things. Mm-hmm. If Mary Tyrone retreats into her morphine addiction, what do the others retreat into?
So I think Edmund is the one I want to look at through this because I don't like that he tries to capitalize on his illness.
Oh, tell about why.
So Eugene O'Neill's own battle with tuberculosis, right? He, after the fact, tried to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. With Edmund, we don't see that exact pattern. But I think we get Edmund kind of using that as like his problem, which I think shows us that maybe Eugene O'Neill wasn't able to admit some of his real flaws, because he pivots that with Jamie. When Jamie talks about his alcoholism,
Yes.
Edmund turns around and talks about his illness.
Yeah.
And it's like, there we get the whole conversation of, is alcoholism a disease or is it a choice? And I can't answer that.
For Jamie, yeah. Well, because it's weird, because Jamie, I would agree, that's what he retreats into. But he does it in a malicious way, because it's like he wants to see Edmund take the fall.
Oh, yeah.
If he can make Edmund no longer mom and dad's precious kid, then Jamie's not such a failure.
So I have something in here about jealousy between... Jamie accuses Edmund of being sick and privileged, of thinking he's better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get the same sibling dynamic in Cold Blood between the main character Perry and his sister Dixie. Perry is left to, take orders. He's not that intelligent of a guy. He's had a rough life. They both had a rough life, but Dixie goes on to have this family and a good job, and anytime Perry reaches out to her, no, she's busy. She can't be seen with him, and there becomes this like resentment, and it's almost like a Cain and Abel motif.
Yeah.
So I think we see that a lot.
That's a really good parallel I hadn't thought of.
Well, you get it with like Thor and Loki. Like it's very dynamic, but there's no hero in this situation.
Right.
I put at first it seems cruel, but then Jamie shifts his tone, and it makes me start to question what his motives are. And then he confesses the part that he's drinking so much because of jealousy. And what's he jealous of? Edmund's youth, his talent, even the sympathy he gets because of his tuberculosis. So that's where it pulls back in, like, is Jamie drinking so that people will be sympathetic towards him because they have like a maternal void to be nurtured? Because maybe that's what, obviously Mary, not a good nurturer. But Eugene O'Neill kind of expressed that their mother and father picked up and left him at a boys' school in New York and took off to go do theater.
Yep. Oh, no, 100% this play is super autobiographical, because I have written down, okay, Mary Tyrone. So Mary Tyrone is based on Ella O'Neill, his own mother, who also, like you said, got trapped into her morphine addiction the same exact way. James Tyrone is based on James O'Neill, who James Tyrone in this play is a famous actor who is super miserly with his money, and he's got it all tied up in real estate and everything, he says, but he won't even let him turn on. He's like Scrooge. He won't even let him turn on more than one light bulb. He always chastises him. You don't know the value of $1. Well, in this play, he's a famous Shakespearean actor, but the real James O'Neill was known for playing in Count of Monte Cristo, and like he got typecast and he could never get out of that play. He also even performed with Edwin Booth. Edwin Booth, who's related to John Wilkes Booth, the Booths were the famous American stage actors. Like, they were huge names at the time. And he's on stage across from Edwin Booth. You've got Jamie, who's based on O'Neill's own brother that was also trapped by drunkenness, his sense of inadequacy. You've got Edmund, based on Eugene O'Neill, who had tuberculosis. And like, he was a witness to all of this, feeling like, I'm the cause of my mother's problems and I'm watching all of this. If Jamie retreats into whatever version of alcoholism, I don't want to say it's a choice, but it is a very self-destructive thing he keeps going back into. And he does it out of a resentment toward his own brother and his parents. If Mary Tyrone keeps descending back into her substance abuse, Edmund descends into his own fog and his own illness and his own literature. What does the father, what does he descend back into? Where's his escape?
I know a lot of the descriptions talk about how he is with money. I didn't get that from the film. I don't get that from the book.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some nods to it, but I don't think it encompasses his whole character. I think that he is passive.
Yeah.
whatever. I think if you think about it's after World War II, it's during the 1950s. This was kind of the male, like, MO. You do the job, you pay the bills. Everything else just revolves around you. You don't have to do anything. You're the center. So if we think about that, I didn't dislike his character, James, and I didn't like his character. I can't say that I have a favorite character. I think Mary's the most interesting to me.
I think she is my favorite character.
I think
she's
me
not
too.
a great person.
No, she's not. But I want to see someone else play. I want to see Parker Posey do Mary Tyrone.
Oh, now that would be good. Yeah.
How is it?
Yeah.
How does it translate from, the role that she played this year that became just huge? Or I want to cast other people and have them compare. Maybe AI could do that. It would be cool to have the kids do different segments and act this out from a theatrical standpoint, or to modernize it. And how does this play out in 2025?
Yeah. Well, to crib a line from William Butler Yeats, if James Tyrone, the father, is the center who's trying to hold people together, William Butler Yeats says the center cannot hold. That everything falls apart. That this
Agreed.
is a wobbly top that is spinning, wobble, wobble, spinning, spinning, wobble, 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 spinning, wobble, and he's losing. They're all losing control of it, right?
Well, it goes with the time period, and it goes with the state of America then and now.
Yeah.
It goes back to the Bible even, and how, the father's supposed to be the head of the house, and he's supposed to represent all of the family's core values. And does he? In this case, does he in any of the cases?
Well, there's a question I want to ask now, which probably everybody asks when you talk about the American dream. If this play is 1956 and American hits its golden age of prosperity right after World War II, did it really take us that long to start doubting this prosperity and this generational wealth of maybe the American dream's not everything that it was cracked up to be? Because World War II ended in 45. So that's, not long at all in the span of a play like this, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. Really, we became pretty jaded about these roles. We must have been jaded about them beforehand, too. I don't know. Everything suddenly starts to fall apart with that idealism.
I think it was the distrust put in place by the Cold War and the government. And so we got to ride that high just for a few minutes before we split up, with the USSR, the remnants of World War II. So we'll take these scientists and doctors and y'all take them, and then let's have a race. And so it became something that was competitive. It became something that created distrust, paranoia. Of course, we're not going to be seeing the American dream for all of its glory whenever that's the attitude that we have. And that spins into the 60s, and we're going to fix communism by going to Vietnam, which dumbest move in history.
Suddenly all the gold is off the lily.
It's just, what in the world? I wouldn't, if we were to say there's a golden age, I would say it would be after the 60s, not after the 40s.
One of the lines is when she, referring to Mary Tyrone, when she starts using that excuse in Act 3, he says, she's gone far from us. And then later in Act 4, he says to Edmund, I'm glad you've come back. I've been damn lonely. There are so many lines in this play that are about isolation and I wish I could be with you. I'm glad you're here. And yet they can't stand to be together. Here's an America that wants to be together and yet cannot stand itself being together.
Then and now,
right? I think that makes it perennially, whether it's the Cold War or whether it's 2025, it makes it relevant.
I do think it speaks to the progress that's been made in the area of mental health awareness, because we are so much aware of what we have going on, how to get help. I don't like Eugene O'Neill, but I understand Eugene O'Neill. And so he didn't have the access to things that we have now. He couldn't ask ChatGPT what vitamins he should take because he's got this going on. Or
plenty of doctors or plenty of conversations that mental health is a real thing, right? It's not some stigma to be ashamed of.
Right. Or this is what happened with your mom, and this is why you're this way in relationships, and here's what you can do to do better and be better.
Postpartum depression is a real thing, and addictions are a real thing. But I can't help but watch Mary Tyrone's character and wonder if she wouldn't have been better off in 2025. Wouldn't she have had better doctors, better, like, maybe that's really naive of me, but wouldn't she have had better treatment? And even if she had developed a morphine addiction, wouldn't she have had more people who are more open-minded? Wouldn't people have been more likely to say, I care about you? Mm-hmm. Maybe that really is just really naive and idealistic to say.
No, I think it was a picture of the time period is we just need the women to be satiated, right? And it was around this time, well, shortly before this time, at probably the onset of World War I is when we get really women using Valium. And that kind of starts the opioid thing in America.
Yeah.
And then it would grow into, what was it during the 60s, American Gangsters based on opium.
Oh, yeah.
So that translated into what we have in today's world. And so it's like, would it be morphine today? What would it be? Fentanyl? Would it be meth? What would it be? And then...
Well, there are plenty of people who have suffered with painkiller addictions,
so.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been, I think, a great parallel. I mean, great. That would have been a more accurate parallel probably for 2025 than morphine, right?
Right.
You're really good at bringing that up, that there were going to be more open conversations about mental health nowadays. I think it is layered throughout this play. We see all the references to isolation and yet yearning for connection. There is also an F word that gets repeated over and over and over in this play. Forget. Mm-hmm. Jamie says, what's all this fuss about? Let's forget it. Edmund says, yes, forget. Forget everything and face nothing. It's a convenient philosophy if you've no ambition in life except to ... And then later on, James Tyrone says, for God's sake, Mary, forget the past. And she says, why? How can I? The past is the present. And that also reminded me of a quote from The West Wing in one of the later seasons, season 3, episode 15. One of the characters quotes Eugene O'Neill verbatim. He says, yes, but it was your own great Irish master, Eugene O'Neill, who said, there is no present or future, only the past happening over and over again now. And I was just thinking,
opposite of Gatsby.
Right. And Mary Tyrone also says, no, I can't forget, but I can forgive. I think there are so many conversations to be had about mental health awareness in today's state of affairs that we don't have to be stigmatized. We don't have to be labeled. We don't have to hide and not talk about these things, that there's help to be had. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody promises an easy solution or an easy path out of it, but that there's help to be had. Mm-hmm. Aristotle gives us the expectations of tragedy. And in 10th grade, I know that we really hit those expectations of tragedy. He gives us 3 unities. Aristotle says that there should be unity of time, place, and action, that your entire play must take place in 24 hours. It must all happen in the same locale, and it must be all about the same main plot. And I'll be doggone, Eugene O'Neill adheres to the 3 unities of time, place, and action. It's all in one living room, all in one 24-hour period that seems to drag on forever, and it's all about the same main plot, the interactions between this family. But like we said earlier, catharsis is, like Aristotle expected us to get catharsis, that we watch something like this and it's mental health for us. It's therapy for us, that we can weep along with them, that we can be like, no, and that we walk out of the theater having purged those emotions. Mm-mm. But Eugene O'Neill doesn't give us that. He doesn't give us any catharsis. Like, it ends with Mary at the end of like a supernaturally long day, and it just kind of curtains down. That's it. And you're like, oh,
is it over?
Wow.
I literally turned to see, like, is there something at the end? Is there an epilogue or anything? Nope.
There's no resolution. There's no redemption. There's no solved problems. It just ends. But if we're looking at modern expressions of theater and modern comments on, well, here's what the real world's really like, maybe reality is that we don't always get those resolutions. Maybe we don't always get those solved happy endings. Maybe people always don't always get the help that they needed. Edmund is just a witness to this. And so Eugene O'Neill is also just a witness to this. He's a bystander. He doesn't offer you any power. He doesn't offer you anything. But one of my last questions with this was, if Eugene O'Neill is basically taking this family trauma, not family drama, but family trauma, and he's giving you this domestic look into his own childhood, his own life, but he's doing so when he and they are already in their grave. But hey, here's what our family drama was like. How ethical is that? How ethical is it if Cager, your son, grows up to one day write a Hollywood movie that is about a mom, a dad, her brother, their uncles, everybody, and the names are slightly changed, but it's like it's Moby Swift or it's something like that. Moby Fast, like that's the character's name. Like, how ethical is that?
So this reminds me of the book Educated with Tara Westover as the narrator of her somewhat memoir. Her own parents wrote a counter memoir about it called Educating.
Oh.
And so I had my students look at excerpts from it after reading Tara Westover's Educated, and educating is a hot mess. So I think in this case, once they're dead, that story's yours. They didn't speak up and try to tell it while they were alive. Versus if they were alive, they would have a chance to fight back, especially with social media now, right? If I write a memoir, it's going to ruffle some feathers. My mother is going to be calling, wanting to know, why did you portray me this way? Because that's what happened.
So thumbs up or thumbs down on the ethics of it?
I think thumbs up. It's your story to tell. How you perceive it is your own.
But if I'm the family members and I feel like, you're exposing everything that, like, you're representing that, like, you're showing me like that, and yet it's supposed to be like a reflection. This is supposed to be what happened in our family. Like, is that ethical to take my experiences and put them out there on Hollywood screens for everybody else to enjoy? I just want to know what you think about it.
Well, it happens in documentaries.
It does.
It happens in memoirs.
Yeah.
Limited series that are based on true stories. So I think it goes back to, if the people are able to speak for themselves, then they have the counter argument. I don't think it's unethical for me to tell the truth as I see it. If I say, this is what happened on Christmas Eve of 2020, and I tell you the story, there are going to be some people that are not happy that I told you that. But is that what happened? Yes. Does it matter that it's not kosher for me to put people's names out there like that? Well, maybe it wasn't kosher for you to act like that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I think it's an accountability question, and different people are going to have different answers, because people sometimes think that they're not accountable, or that's over now, that's in the past. And I think what's done is done. It cannot be undone.
Well, you're also speaking to the point from earlier. If we don't talk about a thing and we just pretend it never happened, what are we doing? How are we any different from Edmund? How are we any different from Eugene O'Neill if we just talk about a thing, but we never actually put on the play, if we never actually show it? But also, I don't pretend to have any solutions to it. And maybe good literature shouldn't come prepackaged with, here's the lesson. Maybe it should just be, here's the problem. Y'all come up with your own questions. What do you think?
Well, I think that this play is good from that perspective, because it's, here's what not to do. Here's how not to treat it if you're going through this. Don't be like these people.
Yeah.
I don't think Eugene O'Neill wrote it from that. I think he wrote it as, here's my life, feel sorry for me.
Really? Your whole attitude on him is really sour.
Many contemporary scholars, especially feminist critics, arrive at a similar conclusion. From a feminist standpoint, his repeated framing of women as addicts, martyrs, or emotional anchors without granting them agency or escape can feel less like critique and more like resignation. O'Neill often shows women as trapped by suffering, but does not imagine real ways for them to change or escape, which can feel passive rather than critical.
But Jamie is trapped by his addiction too. And Edmund's trapped by his inability to, I don't know, crawl out of his books and save anybody to do anything.
I find them both effeminate compared to the father.
Oh, I feel like I had something written down here about that, but I don't know where it is now. Okay. Tell why.
Even though James is, I am the center, I control the money, I'm just going to be a passive participant in whatever's going on with your mother. I think there are times where he still puts forth like a dominant air about him. And with Jamie and Edmund, it seems like they're always complaining or they're immature and they never take charge, even when in their own lives. Maybe they've been crippled by James being... I don't know that James is really controlling, though. I think it goes back to the mom. And I see this a lot with... I feel like I do with male students that have issues with their mothers, because I have a very strong like maternal pull, and so I can normally know like first week of school which boys I'm not going to get along with in class because they're going to like reject that in a way. So it's very psychological perspective on classroom behavior. But I think I can look at both of these characters and be like, to me, these are not fully developed men.
I always hesitated to write. Like, that was one of the things that was always in my mind whenever I was writing something. I was always hesitant. What if I publish this and, you know, my family members look at it and they're like, wait a minute, is that supposed to be me? Is that me? So there was always a hesitancy, which I'm sure everybody feels that way, of like, I don't know, maybe I should bury this.
Oh, I was just going to go balls to the wall. Like, this is what my grandpa did, and this is what my dad did, and this
You're
is what my mom
Eugene
did.
O'Neill. Listen at this. You're Eugene O'Neill right here.
I mean, I'm not even going to wait for them all to die. Just...
Why do you... So, obviously, I think, okay, we can make some reasons of why this is rare in the high school classroom. We already have a bias toward Shakespeare. You already have a limited window of time. But also... I think just one of the ugly realities is you look at the literacy level of people, and I don't want to say it's just kids these days. I don't mean to sound like that. But you look at the literacy levels that we tend to work with, and I do think an engagement or an interest in this play is much more difficult than something that's structurally easier to approach than a Macbeth or Romeo and Juliet, because it follows the pattern. There's a good guy, there's a bad guy. You know, we have a resolution. It's a tragedy. We bury everybody, whatever. But this tragedy doesn't really have an antagonist. There is no one to point the finger at unless we're pointing at ourselves. We're all the antagonists.
It's more of an observation.
Yeah.
I would put it up there with, I taught Nella Larson's Passing last year, and it was very much an observation on cultural norms. And this is that, but from a family perspective.
But if you had to say, okay, well, here's one reason why it would be redeemable for maybe a high-performing class, maybe an AP Lit class, maybe a community theater, whatever, why would you say somebody needs to give Long Day's Journey into Night another swing?
I think, the archetypal influences that we've talked about is pretty important. Because I can think of so many other mom characters like Mary Tyrone, and I can think about how they've been portrayed through the years. And I think another thing is the psychology and the mental health spin on it, and that is something that will engage kids. We're not going to be able to approach this from a plot perspective.
Right.
We're going to have to approach this from paired texts.
That's a good idea. One of the things that I always want to use this show for is the teaching angle. So I always tell classes that good writers borrow, great writers steal. Good teachers borrow and great teachers steal.
Right.
You want to know how to teach something well, go watch somebody who teaches it well and then mimic what they do. Do you have any ideas if you were in the classroom and you had a chance to teach this to whatever class that it's appropriate for? Any ideas of how you would teach it? You bring up paired texts. What else? What would you do?
So there would be a few different ways I would approach this. One would start with begging the question, can you separate the art from the artist, which is something I like to incorporate into AP Lang. Can you separate the art from the artist? That would kind of be my jumping off point. Then I would go into Eugene O'Neill's childhood and talk about his marriages and kind of do a kind of an F. Scott Fitzgerald spinoff of how does that incorporate into the book. Then we would look at different political perspectives. There's a lot going on with communism and people that were involved in his life it to be during the 1950s. And we could definitely pull that into other works like The Crucible, for example, and talk about McCarthyism. And then we could also go into a whole section on psychology, and we could do some informational texts, and maybe even incorporate some mythology, since that was one of his big influences. And we see some of those relational dynamics in his life that we can also pull out of different myths. So I think it's definitely something where you have the opportunity to incorporate the literacy design collaborative on multiple levels. Some other things I would do to have kids kind of engage, looking at some works by Strindberg, and that was who O'Neill said was his biggest influence, but then have kids compare it to things that are in their world, whether it's different YouTube personalities or other books, TV shows, movies. I know for me, this one kind of reminded me of White Lotus season 3, and Parker Posey being the rich mom from North Carolina, really reminding me a lot of Mary Tyrone, as Parker Posey's character has a pill problem, and her husband's dealing with things that are secretive, and each of her kids has his or her own like battle and thing that they're dealing with. So I think that kind of like closed family dynamic, and it being masked through privilege, is really in a lot of what we enjoy watching now. And I think it's that kind of stagnant, like, here's my trauma, but I'm not really doing anything with it. And that's what I have against Eugene O'Neill.
Why do you have this against him, though?
Because I think when people use art to express themselves, but it doesn't change their actions, that it's not a healthy form of catharsis.
Oh, see? Now, I had an opposite argument. I clearly don't know. This whole show is launched because I had a college professor named Dr. Kurt Eisen that I have to name drop every episode, and he was a huge Eugene O'Neill fan. But Dr. Eisen passed away several years ago, and it's been, I don't know, decades since I was in his classroom. So I don't know that I remember all the Eugene O'Neill facts, and I'm not getting out a Ouija board to ask either Eugene O'Neill or Dr. Eisen these things. But I was going to say, in just the rereading of it, I kind of had a different take.
Okay.
I don't know that he meant to offer you a catharsis.
Oh, I didn't want one. I wanted him to have one.
Oh, but who promises that there's always a catharsis?
Well, no one, but
That was what my take was, oh, how awful. But isn't life sometimes like that? That we want meaning out of life, and yet here he is giving you a snapshot that doesn't promise you things will ever be redeemed, doesn't promise you, oh, this is going to be my real happy feel-good episode. That doesn't promise you things are ever going to be solved.
Well, and when the kids ask me, why do we read all of these tragedies? Why does everyone die in English class? I always quote Cormac McCarthy, we don't learn much from the good that happens to us. So I think there's a place for that for sure. I think I'm not showing the movie probably, maybe a clip. But I feel like they're going to see black and white and they're going to check out.
Oh, see, I would never, I would never use that version.
Okay, so maybe the YouTube version that you talked about. But I think I would go at it from like an introspective starter and have them maybe do like somewhat of a questionnaire on
What
some of
problems
these
does your
things.
family suffer with? Who in your family is an addict? Why do you not like your mama?
That, but ChatGPT it first. I think that's a good. The kids love talking about themselves and their problems. I mean, if I'm gonna hear it anyways.
What a can of worms.
So I think that's always a good, if you can use it because they want to open up, and also it's entertaining for us and informative to know, what they've got going on. So I start with something similar before Lord of the Flies. They have to write a narrative about we're stranded on an island with the people in this room. What ends up happening?
Got it.
And I give them kind of some bullet points of things to think about, like leadership, death, survival, hierarchy.
Yeah.
We talk about, are the people that are important in the English classroom going to be the ones that are in charge when we're on a stranded island? No, we're not. So appreciate your rednecks. So anytime we can get them to engage through their uniqueness and their experiences, I think that's always like going to be the first thing I'm going to go to. The next thing would be to maybe do a close reading of Act 1. And let's pick out some of these rhetorical devices. Like blame, for example, is one that we talked about. Dissociation, because I forget, let's forget this. It's that Daisy Buchanan, like, let's just all go to town and have a cigarette and whatever. And start pulling some of those things out, and then flip it over to maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist, maybe pull in a video and have a paired text on some of those like defense mechanisms, because the kids can start getting in there with that, and then go back to now from this perspective, like what experiences have you had like this? Now, where have you seen this in TV shows, movies, other pieces of literature? What about in The Great Gatsby? What about in Romeo and Juliet, Caesar, like some of the things that they've read previously? And just kind of do that rotation of personal, read something from the text or look at a specific. I don't know that I would do like a just read this whole thing, like sit down and read it, because I don't know that it will hold their attention. And for those whose attention it holds, it might put them in a dark place. Because I don't know that they've gotten to the perspective yet where they can be like, yeah, I don't like this guy. I don't, appreciate how this family is behaving. A lot of times they take the story to heart.
I could see that.
So I think I would chunk it. And I think you could do more with it if you chunk it, since each act seems to be like its own thing, even though it's all within the same day.
I kind of wanted to start a class off where it was like, whose line is it anyway? And we draw 4 kids up on stage, and they're going to have to improv a scene where we draw out like roles, except it's the only 4 roles they draw out are, you are a mother who has an addiction nobody wants to talk about. You are a son who is dying of a disease and you only want to be in your books. You are an alcoholic and a womanizer who hates your brother. You are a father who is stingy for all of your money and you can't save your wife. Go.
I think it depends on the group, because
That's a joke.
Oh.
That's a joke.
Okay, I was trying to be nice,
She's so
but
liberal. No, I would never.
I'm like,
I would never.
Trigger warning,
No, that's
Mr.
just,
Crockett's class.
No. This is me being funny because I think it's so difficult to approach such a serious, weighty text with clever, cool activities. I think that's one of the things that makes it so that precludes it from being in even just a senior English class or a junior English class. Even if you think, oh, my kids are mature enough, like you have to come at this with a gravitas. You have to come at it with an appreciation that people are broken and they're not able to talk about these things. And guys, it's just like you with your families. It's just like you in your relationships. You want him to change, but he's never going to change. You want her to just do whatever, and she's never going to change. Like, it's the same thing. You want them to be in that vehicle, but you can't role play it like that. No. I did think that if I were using this with an AP Lit class, and that's where I would land with it. I think it's great for the open response for FRQ3 because that one always asks such a broad, open-ended question. Like one of the more recent ones is to write about a character who always is affected by time and like living in the past or regrets, or characters who are haunted by or who are keeping a secret closely held, or like that's an easy play to write about. But one of the big questions I kind of wanted my class to debate is, what's the single most important question that this play refuses to answer? And I don't know if that's more of a Socratic circle thing or if that's like a journal response, or y'all take Google Slides and you come up with your own 5-slide answer to this, and then we're all going to rotate and just take 2 minutes to teach it to the class. Like, I don't know how we would do that yet.
What would it take to end this cycle?
Yeah.
The important question, right?
Right.
So you want them to problem solve that?
Right.
I think that's a cool thing. Of you've got to come up with it. That could be a cool research
Right.
component of.
Or compare it structurally. If we're looking at what Aristotle says tragedy should be like, what about a modern tragedy? How does Eugene O'Neill adhere to it, but also go in his own direction?
Also, you could do another side-by-side with Austin Strindberg's The Father. I looked at it as being like the most closely related play.
I'm going to give you an August Strindberg play, and I'm going to have you read that sometime, so you see what you think.
Is it
about
Austin or August?
August.
Okay, I wrote it down wrong.
I'm going to give you a Strindberg play, and we're going to see what you think about it sometime.
I don't think I'll like it. I'm not. Did you say he's Dutch? I'm not a big fan of
He's
the
Swedish.
Dutch. Okay, same thing.
Wow, she's coming at it with,
I'm not a fan of the.
I have a Dutch listener, and you just kicked them out. They're going to give this a 1-star rating now. I only had 2 people rate it. It was me and Drew.
Oh, I was going to say, are they from the Mennonite community?
If you were going to rate this play, like on a Goodreads score, if you were going to rate it on a Goodreads score,
3.
compared to all other plays you've ever read, this is a 3?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, this was like almost a 5 for me. I think mostly because of the version that I watched on YouTube.
Okay.
With Alfred Molina in it and what's her name? It was just phenomenal. It was great.
I need to look at that because I started with the movie and then I was like, oh. So then I read it. I read it much more quickly than I was able to like digest the film.
Yeah.
I actually didn't finish the film. I felt like I knew where it was going. But it's one of those, it's like I finished it. Mm-hmm. I made some connections.
Yeah.
With, to the author, not like from myself to the author, but author's life to the book. So it's solid there. I could teach it. Did I like it? No. But I think too, because I don't want to have, like, I need to repress this sort of thing a little bit more. I don't need it in my face.
Which is why Eugene O'Neill waited and said, do not play this while I'm alive.
Correct. That's what I'll do.
I am going to ask you to read another Eugene O'Neill play sometime in the future. We're going to do The Iceman Cometh.
Oh, geez. Have you read the synopsis?
Yeah. I know these plays.
Okay. So Kevin Spacey.
I know, yeah.
Think about this. Jack Nicholson, Kevin Spacey, and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Now, O'Neill has a gravitational pull toward actors who are capable of sustained psychological darkness.
How about that?
His characters do not have arcs of redemption. They have spirals of recognition.
How about that?
It's literally just like, I'm awful, and I know it, and I'm awful, and I know it.
Put the bottle up and get out there.
And what happened to Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Right.
And what happened to Kevin Spacey?
Yeah. Jack Nicholson's fine.
So far,
he's fine.
we don't know.
He's fine.
Okay.
Right.
He was also the Joker.
I would like you to read it, and that way at least, which we don't even have to do this anytime soon, but read it and then compare. What do you think? Is Eugene O'Neill on the same horse? Is Eugene O'Neill doing it better with this play versus that play?
Well, one of
Like
them
what?
gets sober, right? So that's kind of like the hinge for me, just knowing, okay, It's this group of guys. They're all addicts. They live above a flop house. One of them gets sober. Like, that's the rundown, right? So it seems more hopeful.
I have another play that I'm going to give you before that, though. I'm telling you, I know what I'm doing in picking these plays. You are the only one who you are one of the only ones that I want to read this play. The others, I don't know. I don't know that they'd be in the right space.
On the Iceman or a different one?
Oh, no, different one.
What is it?
You want me to spoil it now?
Yeah.
Don't go looking it up.
Oh, well.
Don't go looking it up.
Don't tell me then.
Or you can. I don't care.
I have to know it all or nothing.
It's called Angels in America by Tony Kushner.
Okay. Don't know it.
Just like all of the plays on this show, this was taught to me by Dr. Eisen. I was in one of our lit classes, and it is a renowned play for certain reasons. Yeah. And I was trying to think. We said at the top of the episode, there's some teachers that I would trust with a play like Long Day's Journey into Night. I would trust you teaching it. I would trust me teaching it. I would trust certain people in our department teaching it. There's others that I wouldn't trust it, right? So Angels in America, I would trust Toby with a play like this.
Okay.
I think you'd be good with it.
Produced by a white male in the 1990s. Oh, okay.
90s.
That's a little better.
Tony Kushner.
Okay.
Actually, I have it on my desk if you want me to go ahead and give it to you right now.
I know nothing about it.
Well, I could go ahead and give it to you right now, and then that way you've got
based on the title, like what could it be about? And there,
I'll bet you it's about angels somewhere in America.
Angels in the outfield.
That's they made a movie about it called Angels in the Outfield. That's what it was. Well, that's.
Second Stage is a free zone radio production, recorded here in Sparta, Tennessee. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like, share it, subscribe for more. Word of mouth truly is the best advertising. And if you want to hear more, look up our other podcast, With Honors, now in its second season, and our brother podcasts, A Dead Man's Books and Hastings Curations.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books, and of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time, but I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place. And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.